Hello, Senior Stoner fans. It's the real Senior Stoner back at you for your Ispire Daab, Diamond Dab of the Day. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, you know what to do. Join the family, hit that subscription button, send a like, and I reply to all those nice comments. Well, you know what? Everybody has a fear. Everybody has a fear they got to face. It's critically important. It should be a driving force in our lives to make sure that we can deal with our fears. Fears can range from an overwhelming desire to just look away from something, or something that stops you in your tracks, to literally fleeing the situation because you think your life's in danger. There are ways we can face our fears and actually enjoy life more. Let's discuss. Well, right now around the world, people are facing fear, real fear. Fear that I pray my children and I will never experience. Does that lessen my fears or your fears in our relatively safe 21st century life? Well, when we look at the world we live in, we find that fear, like so many other emotions, can mean so many different things to so many different people. Think about it. The child who has to be dragged physically to the first day of school. The man or woman facing the judge. The person over the buttons over her phone because she has to walk down a dark corridor late at night alone. The person, as the surgeon says, count backwards from 10. The person that's told, we're very sorry, we just can't help you. The person that faces the empty circle of a gun on a battlefield and prays for his existence or her existence. There are a million more of these. But it's what makes us human. We face fear and somehow move forward or are stopped in our tracks. Like the rabbit in the headlights of the car that veers off through the field away from the trees, or stays still praying for salvation, like someone will save them. The rabbit. Fear's huge. Fear's everywhere, and yet fear can be overcome, controlled, and even made to be a power for good. Firstly, if we aren't facing atrocities, God forbid, or the news of impending doom, that's a good start. However, it doesn't mean our fears are any less real. We're often quick to say, I can't moan, my life's not as bad as that other person's. While in theory, that's an honorable appreciation of the situation the other person has. We've accepted our fear relative to ourselves. But what can be done? Well, we got to get some perspective. What's our worst fear? So it could be heights. Okay? We know something is scary and yet we'll do it. Why is that? Because we have a perspective to the fear. When you lose perspective, it can feel too big, too scary. We know something is scary. You look around and get perspective on your fear. Are we really at risk? Can it really physically harm you? Well, if the worst was to happen, what would it be? Maybe hold a hand. So, like a child petrified of the thunderstorm, or the teen that can't get back in the car again after failing their test. The job as a parent is to reassure, encourage, enable, and motivate someone to face something that ideally they would never choose to again. We know many of our fears aren't real. However, it is only when someone guides us with love, respect, lack of judgment, and safety that we're able to get through certain fears. Well, guess what? We can get through our fears. I've seen it a tremendous amount of time. I've done it myself. So you got to ask yourself. If the worst were to happen, what would it be? Could the worst really happen? And if the worst happened, would I recover from it? If the worst were to happen, what would you need to do next? By seeing fear as not the end destination, but part of being human, we can see through it with ways to move forward. We've got to know whose hand to hold, either physically or emotionally. This helps with fears for the rest of your life. Think of someone you can always rely on. And ideally, don't answer yourself. And you'll find that you already found a way to get through fear. The beauty of this is it means that fear becomes part of your life and not something to be feared and shied away from. It means that you'll know you can turn to a friend, partner, colleague, parent, sibling and say, well, I need to deal with this and I'm going to need you to help me. For one moment, think about it from the other person's viewpoint. When we get to help other people, we feel valued and loved, respected, and lots of other positive emotions. And we get good, close, positive chemicals setting off in our body too. Our fear, our determination to fight it, will help someone else too. Now that is really important. We do need to understand that there are some things fear will never touch. Think about it. I like to find role models in life, people who've faced heroism, historic challenges, war, atrocities, miracles, life-saving inventions. Not everyone's looking for greatness, however. They all found it. See, it's very important that of all the people's voices I've heard in my head over the last 64 years, there's one of those statements that reminds me anything's possible if you have love, faith, and hope. Look for the things in your life that fear can't touch. They will create confidence and faith for the future, whatever you face, and they'll give you a sense of why being you is awesome. There are billions of people on the planet. No one will have an answer identical to yours. We need to process our fears to carry on with life. Being brave is not about sticking your chest out and smiling regardless of what you endure. It's about finding a way to emotionally process our fears to be able to keep going. I always call it a toolkit that I have of things I can rely on, tools, strategies, techniques. They include everything from people to hug to music and hobbies. It might sound weird, but at times where I've questioned how will I get through this, I found immense joy in doing the most unlikely of things that make you smile. It may be a short-lived moment of happiness, but it reminded me that nothing stays the same, and I could find a way. Well, it may feel like madness to do something you love, but it can be a powerful way to help you find solutions for the fears you face. Remember, assume the worst in these situations. If you really understand, you have to notice that most people assume it was wrong to do certain things. Well, that assumption also makes them right to have certain things. So don't assume that your words aren't impactful on you. You can go through fear and actually enjoy the ride when you take the time to understand how you're letting your words get to you. Take a fear that feels insurmountable right now. Probably the fear that I would never get out of back pain, that it would be forever in the same way it is right now. But you see, that fear doesn't just define me. You got to be mindful of those things. It's likely to lead you to think all the times you succeeded and bring a moment of calm, confidence, and faith back to you. So what I'm saying is, even though I just mentioned and envisioned the worst fear I have, let's say, you can still come back from that. And you know what? You can go with fear. When you learn to go with fear, you could find yourself actually having fun. I mean having fun. It's important to understand that a lot of people have learned the most successful things in their lives with fear. We didn't start with the fear that they felt was holding them back, but they broke the fears down. They thought they were for life, that they were unchangeable, and it was the way it was. But guess what? developing awareness about the little steps you can take down the road so that obstacles to happiness and success get tackled just in a different way. We need to just discover the great skills we have in our scary moments. You know, out of our scariest moments, we can find ways to feel better, healthier, happier, and ways to live and find more enjoyment in our life, even magic in our life. I know it sounds strange, but what a great place to be ready for the next fear when you think it's going to help you. You see, as we finish the circle discussion here about fear, you just got to own your fear. Think back to the fears you had. Put them in a poem, put them on your phone. When you go for a walk, when you go for a run, when you go for a swim, repeat them in your head. You know what? You rarely take time. People rarely take time to appreciate how far they've come, how much they've achieved, and how much they're capable of achieving, because they're stuck looking at their fear. So you know what? Be aggressive with your fear. That's right. Damn right I can do this. That's you talking to you. Let's find a way. That's you talking to you. And you'll be able to get through any fear. Wary, chary, and circumspect. That's right. You got to be available. You got to make yourself available to see everything. That's right. There's more to see than you think out there. So our fears will no longer be able to keep us down. You know why? Because we're going to be in control of our fears instead of our fears being in control of us. And that's the key. Take over the control. Everybody has things they fear, okay? But not everybody can take control. That's what it's all about, everybody. Let's get back in charge of our lives. Get back in charge and minimize the fears, maximize the good things, and capitalize on all the energy you'll have. This is the Real Senior Stoner, talking about fear and how we can limit it. Here we go with our Ispire Daab. Thanks for joining me today, everybody. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, you know what to do. First of all, grab hold of your fears. Then subscribe to the family, send a like, and a reply to the comments. Thanks for joining me today, everybody. Have a great one. Cheers.